Hey everyone, so today I wanted to have a little chat to you about my non-deal breakers when I bought Loch Isle here. I kind of just want to maybe open people's minds up a little bit to the things that they can put up with that I don't really think you guys are all really thinking about right now. Look, you can have a list of things that like you're really nervous about moving into a house about, but the list needs to be short. Look, you don't have the budget to be fussy, so you need to get that list really short and you need to start getting houses in your results, getting out and seeing them, ones you can afford, and honestly, ones that are just going to be so perfect for you to move into, and they're going to be so perfect for you to start the rest of your life. They're going to be so much better than where you are now. You just have to get this list narrowed down a little bit, okay? So, the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is double glazing. Okay, lads, you do not need double glazing in your house to live in it. You definitely don't need double glazing in your house the first year you move into it. It's one of those luxuries that's a fantastic thing to have in the long term, but honestly, if you're turning down houses because they don't have this, then you need to go back to the drawing board again, right? You can have older windows that are wooden, more than likely hardwood windows. They'll have a single pane of glass in them. They're not going to have these insulation properties that double glazing has, but they're free and they're already in the house. And honestly, if they're keeping the wind out and they're keeping some of the heat in, they are enough for you to get into a house and not be worrying too much about, you know, having to kind of totally facelift the front of your house before you even step foot through the door. So don't be worrying so much about your double glazing, right? You need windows that the wooden parts of the windows are relatively intact. They're not rotten, they're not, letting rain in, they're not letting wind in. With mine, when I got Loch Isle, it was pretty rough on the window front, so I ended up getting new windows made. Now, I was lucky enough, the reason I prioritised this was because I have a carpenter in the family, so it wasn't a very expensive thing for me to get done. And when I got the wooden windows made, I opted for double glazing because look, if you're putting it in, put it in, but I'm saying don't be going and putting this on your list on this budget that you have from day one, because really you can sleep in a house with single glazing. Loads of people in Ireland still live in houses with single glazing, so this double glazing thing is not this God-given right that everybody has, and it absolutely is not a reason for you to still be in rented accommodation. Okay, so the second thing that I want to chat to you about, which is definitely a non-deal breaker for me, is central heating. Now, look, every house it's not going to be a non-deal breaker on, right? There's going to be one type of a house that I think you absolutely can do without central heating in, and that is houses that already have open fires in the rooms. So just have a look at the rooms, see how many open fires you have. I mean, lads, if you're in a 3-room cottage and you have 3 open fires, to a certain degree you have central heating already, okay? You've got a heat source in all of the rooms. It's not going to be the most efficient to run, but honestly it's probably going to be a lot more efficient than your storage heaters in your rental at the moment that more than likely isn't insulated in any way. And at least you're paying for it yourself. You're in your own house and you can improve it. Get central heating in maybe like a year or 2 down the road. Like, it definitely is something that you do need to put in at some stage. I'm not advocating in any way people coming into a house and freezing their nuts off for like 20 years, but in the beginning, if you have open fires, you have a way of heating the place, your chimneys are in relatively good condition, then this central heating thing needs to be something that you just scratch off your list. Okay, so the next one I want to talk to you about is wiring. Now, I know everybody needs wiring in their house. Look, I'm not being unrealistic here, but coming into a house that isn't wired at all or has really old wiring that you can't really use is not a reason you should be ruling houses off your list. Look, when I moved into Loch Isle, I didn't have a massive amount of money. I definitely didn't have the budget to get my whole house rewired. So what I did was I got an electrician out and he put in my fuse board and he put in a couple of sockets and a couple of lights and he put in my earth rod and all outside, and honestly it cost me a couple of €100. I had power in the house, I had a way to work, I had a way to just boil a kettle, plug a lamp in. and I roughed it. And you know, it's okay to do that. And look, if you don't want to invite people over to your house during that stage, you don't have to. But I really think it's one of those things that you can do on a staged basis, especially in an old house, because, you know, I know for me, I ran a lot of my wiring above the walls. I wasn't chasing wires behind walls or anything. So it's easy enough for me to just get someone out to do it in another room when I want them to. And it's just mad to think the amount of people that walk into houses and go, oh yeah, but you know, it needs to be fully rewired, so that's going to cost me a fortune, so I can't live there. And you're like, lads, you need to waken up, okay? If you want to get into a house and you want to get out of your rentals, you need to toughen up a little bit, and you need to be willing to rough it a little bit in the beginning. Okay lads, fitted kitchens. You can survive without a fitted kitchen in your house. This is just this craziness that people are like, oh, once it has a kitchen, I'll be fine. You can survive, okay? I promise you can survive. A lot of the pieces that you get in kitchens are freestanding, okay? There's nothing that suits a cottage or a farmhouse better than a dresser or a lovely freestanding Belfast sink unit. You know, you can survive. Actually, your house will more than likely look better without a fitted kitchen in it, but just God, please don't be knocking houses off your list because you feel like they don't have a functioning kitchen. When you start off in a house, you're going to be in there, you're going to be roughing it anyway, because look, everything's not going to be to your taste. You're only just after getting the place. Look, all you need is the basics. You need somewhere to boil a kettle, you need somewhere to cook, you need somewhere to keep your food cold, and you need somewhere to keep your food warm. But maybe a big kitchen table, but that's not expensive. Other than that, I think just knock the kitchen thing off the list, okay? I don't really know what else to say. It just is mind-boggling that people just have this as one of their criteria, and it's a thing that people are knocking houses off for when, I mean, they're easy to put in when you need them. They're not the most expensive thing in the world, and you can survive perfectly fine with a makeshift kitchen for at least a year. I'm going to say I survived 14 years with a freestanding kitchen, and I mean, it wasn't like bottom of the ladder freestanding. It was nice. I built up pieces as I went along. I had my dresser, I had my sink unit, I had my big kitchen table and stuff like that. But really, like, I survived for ages. Like, I got a fitted kitchen last year and it's lovely and it's exactly what I wanted, and I waited a really, really long time for it because I wasn't really sure whether it was what I wanted to put into an old house. But definitely it wouldn't have even turned me off the house at all if there was nothing there in the beginning. There actually was nothing there in the beginning and it didn't turn me off. But yeah, knock kitchens off the list, and for that matter, knock any kind of fancy stuff like that off the list. Look, you don't need it. Look at the bones of the house, look at the land, look at the services. They're the things that you need first, and just feck the rest of it. Okay, the last thing I want to talk to you about, and this is a big one, is insulation. Now, when I say insulation, I mean dry lining, damp-proof coursing, and I also mean that insulation that goes up in your attic, kind of underneath the roof. Right. I live without insulation. It's one of those things that I have to live without because of money, and to be honest, I find it very strange when people can't even dream of moving into a house without insulation, because I think it kind of almost is a little bit offensive to the thousands of us that actually don't have it at all. So here's what I want you to think about doing. If you find a house that you really, really love and it's not insulated in any way, don't be feeling like this is something you need to do straight away when you move in, or definitely don't think it's something you shouldn't put an offer in on a house for. What you need to do with insulation, like the wiring, is you need to stage it, okay? You need to take your time, you need to do a room at a time. I know Kieran from the show is saying to me the whole time, look, the insulation at roof level is the most important, so get that one in first. After that, I mean, I know he's going to advocate for dry lining and all that, but to be honest, I mean, if I lost the look of my lovely cottage walls on the inside, I'd be heartbroken, so that's something he's never going to convince me to do. Also, the damp-proof coursing on the floors, like, you know, I wouldn't dream of ripping up my floors, But at the same time, I'm not particularly cold in my house. I don't find Lockisle cold. I find with the wood burner going, with our radiators, we're toasty enough to enjoy relaxing watching movies. We're warm enough in our kitchen when we're in there. And to be honest, it's just not really one of those things that bothers me too much. And I think because of that, I find it so weird when people think that they wouldn't be able to live without it. Just give it a go. And if you think you can survive it all, knock that off your list. See, this list is getting small now, isn't it? Because I'm just taking all of the things off it that you think you need in a house, okay? So insulation's gone. It needs to be done. I'm not saying that we don't need to insulate our homes. I'm not saying that they're not vastly more energy efficient when they're insulated. But lads, if the only people getting the grants for this insulation are the people that already have the money to pay for it, then you're not getting us to put insulation in. I'm sorry, I'd love to be able to afford it, and I'm sure if I become rich and famous it'll be one of the first things I'll do. But right now, you know, mortgages have to be paid, loans need to be paid, and this is not something that I can justify because I think my house is perfectly comfortable just the way it is.